Hey guys, what's up? So it's the end of a long cold winter, and some of you have been asking about how things are going after my first winter on my perfect winter bike. So last year I got this bike right at the tail end of the winter season because it had all the elements I'd always looked for in a winter bike. So today I thought I'd give you an update. So for the longest time in winter I rode a POS, the piece of, winter is really tough on a bike. The salt, the slush, the snow can really corrode your components and destroy a nice bike. So for 10 years I rode, a 20-year-old rusty mountain bike, and I was totally happy doing it. But in the back of my mind, I knew there were 5 things that would get me through the winter, 5 components in the perfect winter bike: an aluminum frame, belt drive, internal gearing, disc brakes, and an overall weather hardiness. And if I ever saw those things in a bike, I would jump at it. That's where this bike comes in. So we're going to see how each of those 5 things held up on this new bike through my first winter. So the first element was an aluminum frame, because rust was my biggest enemy in winter. I had rusted out frames before, so I was really concerned about it. And as you can see with this one, mission accomplished. I mean, it's aluminum, it doesn't rust. Thanks, science. Number 2, disc brakes. I wanted that extra stopping power in the winter time. There was some concern with disc brakes that when they get too cold or wet that they won't stop as well, but I had no problems. Those disc brakes held up really well all winter long. The third element was that overall weather hardiness, weatherproofness. And this is where the bike is done okay, but not perfectly, I would say. The fenders are great, they held up really well, but there's little bits and pieces here and there that, little spots of rust. It's hard to have an entire bike withstand the rust. Not everything can be made of aluminum, so it's a bit of a problem still, but overall, not bad. Okay, what about the belt drive? So this bike is equipped with a Gates belt drive system. So it doesn't have a typical chain. What powers the drivetrain is this carbon belt. And this was one of the things that attracted me to it, because I was tired of rusting out chains and replacing them all of the time. And so far this has worked out really well. I like the smoothness of it. It's quiet, and I've had no problems this winter. I have heard some concern about the longevity of these things. They should last a long time, but I've kind of heard mixed reviews. And replacing one is a lot more expensive than the 12 or 15 bucks for a new chain. So the jury's a bit out on that one, but I'd say after the first year, everything's looking good. Okay. Now for the gears, the drivetrain, the important part, the part that makes you go. So this bike came equipped with a 9-speed Nuvinci hub, an internal gear system that was a bit of a question mark for me. Now the system's a bit different than others. It doesn't click into each gear. It's sort of based on tension, so you can shift, it sort of tightens and loosens based on how you turn it. And there was some concern about how it would hold up in the cold. It's a pretty slick system. It's super smooth and super quiet, but I will admit, on those minus 25 degrees Celsius days, it was a little tight. It was a little reluctant to shift. But after I pedaled a while, it seemed like the friction started to warm it up a bit, and then it would start to move. But it was a little dodgy on some of those days. But on the normal winter days, it was great. What was best for me was the lack of maintenance. I didn't have to do anything to clean it, or I probably should have cleaned it more than I did, but that's one of the things I needed. I wanted a low maintenance bike, and this has certainly delivered on that. So of those 5 factors that went into my perfect winter bike, they're all holding up pretty well. But, yes, there's a but. I hate to say it, but it's not the sexiest bike in the world. The frame is kind of boring. It's one of those hybrid commuter frames. It's neither all that fast nor all that comfortable. Plus, that Nuvinci hub on the back is pretty heavy, and the gear ratio is a little sluggish, so it's not the fastest bike in the world. Also, Priority is an online retailer, and buying a bike online comes with some risks, especially if you don't have the support of your local bike shop. So, should you go out and buy a Priority Continuum right now? Actually, I'd say probably not. I mean, it's worked really well for me. But my winter is very specific and my challenges were very specific to the conditions I have. Your winter might be different. You know, rust is a problem for me, snow might be a problem for you. So my recommendation, figure out what you need, go talk to your local bike shop and ask some good questions. That's the place to get started. And if you're really just getting going on winter biking, I'm going back to my old advice. Pick up an old POS, get out there and experiment a bit and figure out what works for you. See you in the snow.